In our previous video, we got our hands on the keyboard. We started writing some records, some lists and tables. Obviously, I love just kind of building that muscle, but I always like to dive a little bit deeper. Like, what was I actually doing? So in this video, we're going to just talk about kind of each one of the structure values, so between the list, record, and obviously the table. So we're going to start out just by creating a new blank query. And then within Power Query, lists are just a single column return. And then obviously you can create a list itself just using the curly brackets. And for our first example, let's go ahead and just create a list of values. So in the formula bar, I'm going to zoom in here now. We're going to do our equals, and then we're going to do the curly brackets here. And we're going to create a list of numbers. So 0, dot, dot, 10. Go ahead and close that curly brace out now so we can see here 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 10. So we hadn't automatically just iterated that for us, just using that double period there in the middle. Well, let's create another list. So let's do fx. So we're going to do our add step. Then we're just going to go ahead and clear out kind of this identifier here. So let's get rid of this source. Just go ahead and double click it and delete it. We're going to create another list here now. We're going to do the double quotes. Then we're going to create a capital A double quote here. Do our dot dot once again. Double quote. We're going to go through our Z and then close that out with a double quote. One curly there at the very end. Press enter. And then we can see here we've created a list now from A through Z. So we're not limited just by the kind of numerical, so 0 through 10 in that previous example. We can also do letters. So let's add another step. So let's do fx, delete this identifier here now. We're going to do our open curly. Let's go ahead and start out here with a double quote, lowercase a, double quote, period, period. Now let's do through lowercase z, and then close curly. Press enter. Our list of capital letters we can also do within lowercase. So pretty neat. Still, once again, maybe fx. Let's do it one more time here. So add step. And then we're going to go ahead and delete that identifier that's now created. So delete that custom to. Let's do that curly. Let's try going from a kind of the capital to that lowercase now. So double quote, capital A, double quote here, period, period, double quote, lowercase z, close, double quotes there, and then close, curly brace. So now if we see our list A all the way down, if we scroll through Z, oh, interesting. Kind of around that 27 through 32 range, some special characters. Why is that? Well, that's interesting. I was expecting more of just kind of letters. Well, really the reason for that is to come back to, let's go ahead and create another one here now. So just a custom. So let's do our equals, curly, A, period, period, all the way through a capital Z. Nothing. There's nothing there. So why is that? We had the characters working. The reason for that is going to be this is based on the ASCII, so the character table here, so the American Standard for Code Information Interchange. As we can see, capital A all the way down through the lowercase z, and we see those special characters in the middle. So maybe if we tried this, maybe starting out with kind of our 0 all the way through 127, maybe we can see all of the characters that are returned within the ASCII kind of character map here. So let's do an fx equals, let's do our curly brace here again. We're going to do a capital character, period, capital from, capital N, number, open, parentheses there, 0, period, dot, dot. Let's do a character, period, capital from, capital number, open parentheses. And we're going to do a 127. That was our final number there. Close parenthesis, close curly, press enter. And then from here, we will have that list populated. Obviously, you're not seeing some of these first ones, but kind of line number 11, 14, we can see our new line break and our carriage returns. But if we scroll down here, once again, we shall start seeing letters, numbers, special characters. We'll see that A, we'll see that kind of capital A through Z, then obviously everything there in between. So just something to keep in mind, especially if you're working with a list and you're kind of using this dot, dot kind of a frame. It's just based on the ASCII character. kind of table there. So I'll go ahead and include that resource here just within the description within the video as well. But let's go ahead and move on just from the list and maybe start talking about records. So let's create a new query, blank query. You're going to find that that's my favorite thing to create here within Power Query. So up within the formula bar, we're going to go ahead and start out here. So if we remember with our records, they are contained within these square brackets. So for our first example, let's just go ahead and start out with our equals, square bracket A equals 10, comma, B equals the double quotes. Then we'll just put in test, close it out with the double quotes, close square bracket, press enter, and we can now see that our record set will be returned. So we see our A 10, our B equals test. So yep, so very similar to the list, we can store kind of various data types. So we have both a number and then also text here within this value. But maybe let's create that third. So can we store a list within a record set? So let's do C equals our 0 dot dot 3 close curly, press enter. And if we see here now, C, yes. So we can store different structured values here within kind of our example. So yes, we can store records. We can store lists within records that are obviously we can store a record within a list, kind of look in the opposite way. Let's try another one here. So can we store records within records? So let's do our comma here, our D equals. We're going to create a new record set, so a square bracket. And then we're going to say val1 in this example, so capital Val 1 equals 15. And then we're going to say val number 2 equals A plus val 1. Interesting. So we can actually reach out now to our kind of our first value here. So our A equals 10. So let's do a square bracket here at the very end, close out that new record set, and then just a square bracket, close out both of them. Our first value, A equals 10. If we go down to D now, click in that white space here in our record, we can see here val1 is 15. So if we were to kind of do that simple math here, so val2 has to be A plus val1. 10 plus 15 equals 25. Very cool. So we are able to kind of reach into those different values. So at our highest level in the hierarchy, our A equals 10, and then our val1 equals 15, now creating kind of some simple kind of arithmetic here. Well, let's move on to tables then. Tables are my absolute favorite. Of course, if you've ever used a spreadsheet application or a database, you're no doubt familiar with kind of the construct of a table. So attributes are often called our columns. Then obviously our tuples, commonly referred to as rows. Just for simplicity's sake, I'll refer to them as columns and rows, just kind of here for the video. So to kind of begin, as you can see here with the different icons, we're going to create a new query, blank query. Kind of get us up and started here. And then in the formula bar, we're going to do our equal symbol. And then we're going to do the hash. Then a table, so just lowercase. Open parentheses, the first argument here we want to satisfy is our column name. So we're going to do our open curly double quotes here. We're going to call this just produce. Close that double quotes there. Closed curly comma. We're now going to move into our actual rows here now. So a double curly. First row here, just with double quotes, tomato. We're going to close that out now with the curly. Add a comma here. So we're going on to our second row. So open curly, double quotes. We're going to do pineapple, double quotes, close curly. Let's do another close curly here just to close out our entire list of kind of the different rows here. So as we can see, we have our column header produce. Then we also have our first row, which is tomato, and our second row, which is pineapple. Not a big fan. Just kind of writing here in the formula bar. So let's jump over to our advanced editor. So we'll do home advanced editor. Just kind of the little icon now. Let's kind of just stylize this a little bit. So right before our produce here, I'm going to go ahead and do enter. Just bring that down to a new line. Right after that comma here in our column headers, we're going to go and press enter again. Right here between the two openings, we're going to go and press enter. Awesome. So we got our first row right after this comma. We're going to go and press enter once again just to kind of show our second line here. So tomato was our first row. Pineapple is our second. Then right here, kind of within that first curly, we're going to go ahead and just press enter real quick. As we can see here, the close parenthesis, that goes ahead and wraps up our table. So we're looking good. Feeling a lot better here now. So obviously within the produce, just kind of being our first kind of row here, actually I'm sorry, our first column here, we can see that it's a list, right? So we're storing just items within a list here within our column header. And then we also have the different items here within the kind of the rows. So our first row would be tomato, our second row, which will be pineapple. Let's go ahead and add, though, kind of another value. So here within our columns, so we're going to add a second item here to our list of values for our column header. So our double quotes, we're going to just call this total amount. Just store that within our double quotes. So each item here now, it has two different columns. So our tomato, so we can add a second item here to our first row, so a comma. We can say that we have 15 tomatoes. So just do a comma 15 for our total amount. And we'll do another one here for pineapples, so a comma. And then we'll do just 30 pineapple. So if we go ahead and close out of this now, just press done. We jump back over here, just going to zoom up to our window here. Now we see the two different columns. So we have both produce, then we also have total amount. Pretty cool. Pretty interesting, right? So one thing kind of noticing though is the top left, ABC123, just the any data type. It would be really nice if we just provided that information right off the bat, wouldn't it? I know what it's going to be. It's going to be text, and it's also going to be just kind of a number here. So let's jump back to our advanced editor. For first argument, instead of passing through kind of this list, let's go ahead and get rid of this. And then we're going to go ahead and just change it actually to a record set. Maybe provide a little bit of metadata here. So let's say that is the of type table. We're going to do a square bracket. And then because we don't have any special characters, we can just do produce equals text, comma. And then for our total amount, we actually have to do the hash shared just because it does contain that special character, which is going to be our space. So total space amount equals, and then we're going to say number. Go ahead and close this now with a closed square bracket. So just adding that metadata. If I press done, kind of in this example, and we jump back now to our window, we'll see here produce ABC, total amount just listed as a 1.2, so just our decimal number here. So looking pretty great. Obviously here with tomato and pineapple, 15 and 30. That means that my data is going to be casted, right? I'm not too sure about that. Maybe we could try that then. So let's do advanced editor. Let's maybe add a third row here. So right after pineapple, we'll do a comma. Get down to our third row here. So we're going to start out that the curly. Obviously, each row is just a list of items here within our table. So let's try 45 here. It's kind of being our first. And then maybe we'll say that apples is our second. So we'll just kind of do it in reverse order. So now we're saying, all right, 45 should be text. Apple should be number. Obviously, in this point, it should just show us an error, right? So let's go ahead and press done. We're going to zoom back out now to just that window. So let's go ahead and do that here real quick. Oh, interesting. So produce, 45 total amount apples. It did not force the integrity of the data types. Interesting. So something to keep in mind, just as you're building out your tables here, is that you do still want to kind of set the data types appropriately, but it does not enforce integrity. So if we actually go up to the transform here now, and we say detect the data type, this will go ahead and force that integrity. So if we press this now, we see the error came through here with the total amount where we had the apples listed. We could not convert the number. We could not convert the text into a number.